And so we come to the next group of dhammas, of phenomena after the hindrances. These are the aggregates, Pali is khandha, which means groups. Here they talk of 5 aggregates of clinging. Rupa khandha, the aggregate of the body or materiality. Vedana khandha, the aggregate of feelings. Sanya khandha, aggregate of perceptions. Sankhara khandha, aggregate of mental formations. And lastly, the aggregate Vijnana khandha, the aggregate of consciousness. These 5 aggregates of clinging has been taught in many discourses of the Buddha. During the first period where the Buddha was preaching to just the 5 ascetics, he preached the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, discourse of non-self. And on preaching this, the 5 ascetics attained arahatship. So it is something very profound. So after listening to it, do you think you can become arahant? I don't think many would be able to. There's anything wrong with the sutta discourse. Probably something wrong with us. I read a Burmese book. He was talking about why during the Buddha's time people can get enlightened just by listening to the discourse. And now they cannot. They have to practice before they can gain realization. He compared it to eating food. In those days, the people's digestive system was super. Nowadays, they're very poor digestive system. So you have to mash up the food, and cook and boil and do all sorts of things to it, and then you can digest. So meditation is something like that. And better not say this thing. So there are 2 things here. There's the aggregates, and then there is the clinging. Aggregate, that means they are not one thing, but there are many things. Like in the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, which I mentioned, it gives, for example, body, rupa, Aditanan Vaga, Pachupanan, Atitana, Nagata Pachupanan, Ajatawa, Bahitawa, Olarikawa, Sukumawa, Hinawa, Panitawa, Yandure, Santikewa. So all these types of aggregates, say the rupa, materiality of body, of the past, of the future, of the present, externally, internally, near or far, gross or fine. All this past, all this materiality is not self, not me, not mine. The first part talks about the different types of materiality. The second part involves with seeing it as non-self. You look at the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, actually the first part talks about, people involved with clinging. And unless you see it in the sense of no self and change, then one can see non-self in it. First we talk about materiality. There are 2 ways of looking at it. When you say rupa, you can look at it in the more of the sense of ultimate realities, and you can look at it in a more conventional sense. In the ultimate realities, we talk of the 28 kinds of materiality. 28 kinds. In terms of the conventional man, is the body. So then it is obvious that this clinging is involved with clinging to the body. And after that, it also involves the clinging attachment to external things, which are in a way the extensions of the ego. Don't you agree? I noticed, when people get a car, the car is a reflection of the ego. Sometimes they look like them. Like this little fellow, he get a little car, even motorcycle. And of course, when the power becomes bigger, then they get bigger cars. So they have Mercedes, Porsche, Ferrari, and all that. Ladies don't go for cars, see? No, they have it. If they could, they would. So anyway, then on the top of that, they get attached to other external bodies as extension. Now we come to talk a bit about this upadana. Upadana refers to strong craving. Initial form, we call it tanha. craving. Then after that, when it becomes strong and they start clinging to it, then it becomes upadana. In Dhamma, we talk of 4 types of upadana, 4 types of clinging. One is the kamupadana, the strong attachment, clinging to sense pleasures. Second is dittupadana, strong attachment to or clinging to wrong views. That means it's kind of a wrong beliefs. It is a belief that is in conflict, not in accordance with reality. For example, there was somebody who has strong views about that gravity is permanent. During that time he was saying that everything is changing but gravity is permanent. Do you agree with him? So at that time there was a professor of physics there. So I asked her opinion. She said, nobody understands what gravity is. So he said, how it's just an idea in his mind and it clings so strong. Anyway, there are different types of wrong views which we will not go into here. Then the third is silabatupadana. That means the attachment to wrong practice. In the Buddha's time, they usually refer to certain austerity practice that are harmful and useless, but they are very attached to that. I mentioned, for example, one case where he believed, according to his tradition, to be a clown, to make people laugh. So he told this to the Buddha that he will go to heaven after this. Buddha said, no, you go down. Because you create a lot of craving in people. Then there's another one that believed that if you behave like a cow, they call it cow austerity and dog austerity, where you eat like a dog, you shit like a dog, do everything like a dog. The cow austerity, you eat like a cow, you walk like a cow. When people ask you, you say moo. But because they believe that they exhaust all their past bad karma by doing this, after that they go to heaven. And so the Buddha again said, no, you go down. And so that means they have very strong clinging to those ideas and views. And so be careful, because it also involves certain meditation practices that does not bring you to Nibbana, but you think it does. It would come under this type of clinging. But in this case, you may not go down, but you still get stuck in samsara. The last one is attaupadana, that means attachment to the idea of the self. This refers to this attachment to the 5 aggregates. Then you can, to be more specific, what is atta? Atta here itself has different meanings depending on how it's being used. But in this case, it refers to the idea that there is an everlasting essence of the person. In English, we would use the word soul. Because is the body the soul? I said, no, the body is not the soul. Is the mind the soul? Mind is not the soul. Is feeling the soul? Is feeling? No, soul is something else. But it is Piero. The real Piero. The real Helena Gogelova. The real Manfred. So this would be mean the atta. They identify this atta to the 5 aggregates. So this is clear. So it would seem that the preaching of the 5 aggregates firstly used to remove these wrong views connected with the self. It's because this identification and clinging is very strong. The 2 things that are very closely connected. This called conceit, and this thing called wrong view of the self. One is Pali is asmi mana, the other one is atta ditti. What's the difference? I remember reading a Thai Abhidhamma book. In front of it has a note. It says, of all the questions asked, this is the most profound question. What's the difference between this mana and ditti? What's the difference? Ditti is wrong view. There's a wrong view and you attach to it. It means you think the real Helena Gogelova in essence really exists forever and ever. Is there a real Pietro Vanini existing forever and ever inside you, Pietro? So something like that, huh? So you attach and say, really there is. And so that is the wrong view of it. Then what about mana? Mana is, this is referred to as self-importance. Now, wouldn't that be also wrong view? That is interpretation of people. Generally, I think what it means is egocentrism. The vortex of the thought process is centered on the so-called ego. It's like a centrifugal force that is involved with an identification process. It also comes with attachment in both cases, but the process is different. And these two do complement each other. So we are dealing with some very powerful, terrible force. But it doesn't always look so bad. Sometimes it looks quite nice. So you see, first is the body. People are very attached to the body. Feelings, people can be very attached to feelings. Of course, they're attached to pleasant feelings. Do you attach to painful feelings? Usually no. But you're still attached to feeling. When you're attached to pleasurable feeling, the feeling is there. But you have hatred, anger for painful feeling. And when there's neutral feeling, there is this delusion. So we go back to the past lesson. These three are connected. Then this attachment to perception. This will explain a bit more. Sometimes they refer to memories, but it's not. Memories are more involved with the past. More important is the present. Then the sankara. Sankara refers to mental formation, in which the chief of them is the cetana, cetasika, the volition. That's why sometimes translators use the word volitional activities. When I first read it, I was wondering what they were talking about. Volitional activity. Later, when you understand more, they're actually correct in this particular, in this usage. Generally, they use the word formations, which is more general. This refers to all our active mind creating things. And then finally, consciousness. So there's the 5 aggregates of clinging, and you cling it in each one. You cling it in 4 ways. First, you believe that let's say the rupa body is a self. Who is Aldo? This is Aldo. Hey. So why do you call him? Because his body is there. So when people were attached to the body, then when they die, they're very devastated. Because when they die, the body is gone. No more. What's wrong with that? You really no more. Good, great. No more suffering. But no, they want. It is not rational. Secondly is the clinging in the sense of they have the body, they have the rupa. Because there is the self, and then therefore the self owns the rupa. This is spectacle. It's my spectacle. I own the spectacle. You cannot take my spectacle. Take my spectacle. So it depends on how strong the ego is. The attachment to the self is, the stronger the attachment to your material things. Not attached to something so strong, then it's not so bad. You see it, you say, well, impermanent. Third type of clinging is clinging in the sense that the rupa, the materiality, is in the self. And the fourth verse is the self is in the rupa. Different way of looking at the self and getting attached to it. Same with feelings. The feeling is the self. I am the feeling. Are you the feeling? So the second is the self feels. That means the feeling is like something that comes with the self. That is, I feel, therefore I exist. This one is, I have the body, so I exist. Then the third one, perception, is I remember, therefore I exist. Of course, it's only one aspect of it, but it is a very frequent aspect. Like some people, they have long memories. So when he says, that's why people write their long biographies. Jenny, when are you going to write a biography? I remember once there was a Buddhist preacher in Malaysia. He wrote his biography, a very thick book, but it was really boring. Talks everything. I used to fly kites. After that, I eat rice in the afternoon. I ate the porridge. And after that, I saw my friends. Of course, he must think it that to him is very important because it proves his existence. But he's a Buddhist teacher. So of course, he doesn't meditate. So the other one is, I think, therefore I exist. I think a philosopher said that can't. I think the English, you call it can't. Different. Descartes. So I think this is the most dangerous because the thinking is one that really complicates, makes something unreal as real. So it becomes a really not just clinging to a strong wrong view. The last one is I know, therefore I exist. And so this identification process is very difficult to disentangle. Firstly, because it is defilements, the craving for existence is very strong. Without this identification process, life becomes meaningless. For example, a young man who just got married. Then when he meditated, he saw non-self. Okay, but when he went back, he saw his wife. Who is this? If he went to work, who is working? For what? He started panicking. He's also a Buddhist preacher, you see. So fortunately, he was in a Buddhist community, and there were people who were able to explain to him. He knows everything theoretically about non-self and all these things. He's a preacher. But when he experienced this, something is deep inside him is being shaken. The sense of reality and everything that has been taken for granted has been seen to be false. And so you have to learn to adjust and accommodate and understand that, to be at peace with it. That means rationally, emotionally, you have to accept this reality and truth. And if you do, then you have the right perspective of life and existence, and then you start to get the real peace. So you look at this, when you talk of conditioning, Dhammanupassana, of the aggregate of the rupa, materiality. So when you watch the aggregate of materiality of clinging, it's actually doing Kayanupassana, body foundation of mind. And so when you're doing body foundation mindfulness, you watch the different rupas, different sensations, and they arise and pass away. You see them as a group, especially when you're doing sitting and touching. As the sutta says, you see the body as a foam. And the foam is made of many bubbles that arise and pass away. This is what you observe when you watch the body as a whole, and all the materiality is changing. So you watch the material arise and pass away. So when you watch closely, you find that the arising, like in the Satipatthana Sutta, there's the origination factors and the dissolution factors. So you see the causes involved with arising and causes involved with that. Because when it arises, it just doesn't arise alone. There are many things that lie behind that. For example, one set of conditions of rupa arise, and this gives rise to the next conditioning of rupas. So one can trace back the causes, but you trace like that, there's no end to it. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, chicken or the egg? You try to trace it in that way, there's no end to it. It's like the dog chasing after its tail. So when you talk of the origination and dissolution factors, it doesn't mean that way. If you ask, who gave rise to Jani? Body of Jani, father and mother. Who gave rise to the body of his father and mother? His grandfather and grandmother. And who gave rise to, there's no end to this, no? Finally, you may end up as a Neanderthals. Somebody was telling me, I can't remember who recently, oh yes, Scott, the Canadian friend of mine. No, they have this method of tracing the genes and say, he said he's, 15 or 20% Neanderthals. I look at him, it's just very possible. Why? Because he's a tall fellow, because a big jaw, and he walks like a it's very possible. Anyway, jokes aside. Because here it very clearly that shows that you observe the conditions that give rise to the realization of the three universal characteristics. In other words, the way you have been taught to wash the body, as in Kayanupassana, Satipatthana. The same which goes for feelings. Feelings is not so concrete. They seem to be more sticky and fluid. For rupa, you can say, okay, this is hard, this is soft, this is this is that, this is the bones, this is the brain. So head hair, body hair, nail, teeth, skin, shave off your hair, put here, all your hair is here. Shave off all your body hair and put it there. Take away all your nails and put it there. Pull out all your teeth and put it there. Remove the skin, put it there. The Visuddhimagga tells you how to take it out. Start from the mouth. Take it out as if you are taking out your clothes. You have a loose, oily bag. Something a raincoat, So part by part. No, rupa, although this is conceptual rupa, but it gives you an idea. One way to get rid of strong attachment to the body. That's why it's part of the Satipatthana. The feelings is a bit different. Feelings you cannot see it, you can only know and feel it. And because you don't see it clearly, there's a stronger possibility of attachment that is more difficult to let go. And so you have this Vedananupassana, which is actually the aggregate contemplation of the aggregate of feelings. So what do you happen when you watch feelings? So the first feeling you watch clearly is pain. You like feelings? Pains you. You still like feelings? Because this monk was telling me this story, He says that when he was, Burmese, so he became monk at a young age. So after that, he don't want to be a monk. He cried, I don't want to be a monk anymore. So the teacher asked him to come. Hit him. Still don't want to be a monk? Hit you. Oh, so pain. He says, no, okay, I remain as a monk. In modern methods of teaching, it is not acceptable. But it worked, and he remained as a monk and a meditation teacher. So what have you got to say? So anyway, the feelings, there's the very clear awareness of the nature of feelings. Of course, there's the other side of the feelings, which is pleasurable. But you want to get to the real nature of feelings, you have to watch it moment to moment, how it arises, how it passes away. It arises also through conditions, it passes away also through conditions. Otherwise, the feeling is really not as absolutely real. It is a conditioned thing. So you think it is real, that's why you attach to it. When you watch it, it disappears. So that's why when you watch it in a vipassana way, the first thing that would be the identification and the clinging. Then come to perception. This one usually people skip. This is Kayanupassana, body. Vedananupassana is feelings. Chittanupassana is consciousness. About perception and feeling and formations. It's under Dhammanupassana. So it's also included, but in Dhammanupassana, the study of conditions. So perception is one of the mental states. This goes into very much into Abhidhamma. In the beginning, I had this problem of understanding what is perception. I looked into the dictionary. What is perception? Perception means to perceive. Then it tells further, what is perception? Perception is to perceive. This is red, this is blue, this is green. So is that perception? So it wasn't clear to me either. So what is perception? So there are certain things that people say in books that explain which is better. For example, the one they give you some idea is the recognition. How do I recognize Luisa? How do I recognize Piero? How do I recognize Luca? Why? I recognize by his bafiji. Buffy his moustache, So if you shave off his moustache, I cannot recognize him anymore. So that's why the Abhidhamma tells that perception is that mental state that knows according by the signs that are present in the object. That means there are certain signs or certain marks that are present, and that when you take them all together, then there is some kind of idea of what you're looking at. So when you look at it, or say, oh, this is Mr. What? Mr. who? Let's be impersonal. Mr. Goose. How do you recognize Mr. Goose? You see the type of nose he has, the type of eyes he has. But the eyes and nose doesn't make Mr. Goose. They must all come together. So you have a clear perception of the face. And after that you think, this is Mr. Goose. Or this is Miss Duck. But this is already a later part of the process. Law of perceptions, and then it links to the perceptions of the past. So you go into the other conditionings. And finally you see that, no, it's not her. Her mouth doesn't look like a duck. It looks more like a dog. So the perception is different. Then from there it links to a different perception. So this is not Miss Duck, it's Miss Dog. And you look properly, no, the dog's mouth is not so big. His mouth is not so sharp. It's got very strong whiskers. It's actually Miss Cat. And so when the perception, you see, changes, so you identify the person with a different set of names. So what happens is we're not talking of what is perceived, but the act of perceiving itself. That means a kind of knowing that is very specific, to know a certain nature in the object. The interesting thing is then what's the difference between consciousness, which is also knowing? Consciousness is more in the background than just a general knowing. This is more specific kind of knowing is the perception. So if the perception is not so pronounced, then what you experience is the consciousness. And so the aggregate of perception refers to all these perceptions. Therefore again, the Anatta Lakkhana goes to say, Adita Nagata Pachubana Ajata wa Bahita wa Olarika Sukumang wa Hinang wa Panitang wa Yandure Santike wa. No? And so all these perceptions of the past, present, future, gross, subtle, fine, and near or far, and so on. Stop here today.